Hello out there, everybody. How are you all doing? And welcome back to Rule of Two Review. And today, let's talk about that one really weird game. So, that really weird game that you can no doubt already predict is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Or I should say the rumored game Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It's a very unique title that has been making the rounds of rumors since before the Nintendo Switch was officially revealed back in January in Tokyo, and it's a game that gained a lot of traction. It's this Ubisoft Nintendo sort of team-up crossover thing, obviously, as the title would imply, where you have Mario, the character, and probably other Mario characters, I would assume, in a game with the Rabbids characters from the Rayman universe in some sort of weird mashup action RPG strategy weird platforming game. I mean, no one ever really knew until recently when some more details have started to come out about the rumor, and that's kind of what I want to discuss with you guys today. So like I said, this was a game that was rumored way back even before the January 12th event in Tokyo, and at that time it was actually a game that was rumored to be revealed at the Tokyo event. Now, it should be noted that I myself, at least going back to before January, never really put much stock or faith in the title actually being real. And to be fair, I don't even really put that much stock into it now. A little bit more because the rumors have resurfaced, but I'm still pretty wishy-washy on the possibility of this being a real game. I can't rule it out, but I don't necessarily believe it either. I'm going to get more into that in a minute, but what I do want to do is kind of go over some of the details on what the game's supposed to be, the rumors resurfacing, before I get into my thoughts. So in this last couple of days or week, the rumors did come back thanks to a very awesome person who you all know on Twitter, probably, if you follow the Nintendo gaming news and the Nintendo rumor news, which has been really busy the last year. And that would be Emily Rogers on Twitter, again, someone who's very known for blog posts and Twitter posts and knows people within the industry, and she's broken some scoops that have turned out to be very true, and also had some scoops that turned out to not be true. So one of those people that a lot of folks on the internet view as fairly credible, but again, you know, not 100% of everything she said has actually turned out to be true. It's probably somewhere in the range of 50% true, 50% not true. So hard to gauge what's going on there. And I'm someone who finds the rumor stuff very interesting, and I love discussing it as a possibility, but I'm not someone who's ever going to put 100% stock in something being true or untrue. I just discuss the possibility and then let the chips fall where they may, which is what I want to do again today, reminding you guys. So in the past couple of days, Emily Rogers did bring this back into the forefront because she has inside sources that apparently are telling her that this game is really pretty real and that it's probably going to be revealed and released sometime soon. So this is what she quoted in a blog post in the last couple of days about what she apparently knows this game is going to be. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle has 8 playable characters, including Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Yoshi, and they each have their own sci-fi weapons, laser guns, arm cannons, etc. But you don't control the characters, you control Totoro, a small floating dish, to guide them through the worlds. There is also co-op multiplayer. So, yeah. That's pretty weird. That's very interesting stuff and rumored details about a rumored game. So right now, that's all the internet has to go on if this game is real, and if it's real, what it may look like or play like. And now I want to kind of get into if this game, as it's stated here, as this sort of rumor or theory about the game suggests, would this game make sense? Does it feel real? How much faith do I personally put in it? How much do I not put into it? And do I even believe this whole play style that the game is being described as? So let's start with the base, obvious thing. Is this game real? Do I believe in it or do I not? And you already kind of know this because I alluded to it a couple of minutes ago. I don't necessarily still believe that this game is 100% real. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle does feel like something that in a weird, bizarre world I could see being true, but there's just something about it and how long this rumor has existed that just doesn't feel or sit right to me. Not in the sense of whether or not I want it to be. I don't mean like I think it's a good idea or a bad idea. I just mean the truth behind it existing hasn't necessarily sat right with me. It just seems like a weird sort of team up. It's not impossible, but there's something about Ubisoft and Nintendo working together that tells me they would work to make something different, as opposed to taking, you know, some of their most you know, staple and well-known franchises respectively, and just mash them together. It still doesn't mean it's impossible though, guys, and I of course have to explore that option as well. I mean, to be fair, the idea of crossing genres and crossing games and companies is something that we see a lot more often on the Japanese side of games development and game companies. And while Ubisoft is not a Japanese company, we all know Nintendo is definitely a Japanese company. So the whole Mario plus Rabbids or Mario cross Rabbids, you hear that kind of cross phrasing used in a lot of crossovers in the past of a lot of Japanese games. That definitely does speak to something a Japanese company like Nintendo would do. Nintendo doesn't typically cross their first-party stuff with third-party stuff, but we did, in the last couple of years, get Hyrule Warriors, which is a great example of Nintendo deciding to do that, which does lend some credence to the idea of them willing to take a game and a character like Mario and mix it with something from a third-party company in their IP with the Rayman world and the Rabbids character. So there is definitely a world where I could see it happening, and if Ubisoft wanted to really work with Nintendo and Nintendo wanted to really show Ubisoft, we want you on our console, this would be a great sort of ice-breaking kind of title to make something like this happen. It's just one of those things where when I tell you guys it doesn't sit right with me as far as believing it, I'm very open to it becoming real, but it just seems, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a game that makes a lot of sense. I'm really excited to see if it turns out to be true, but it's hard for me to say 100% I believe it, even with these recent rumors resurfacing. However, since I am open to the possibility of this being real, I don't ever pretend to be Nostradamus. I try not to give too many predictions that I state is 100% fact, so this could turn out to be real. And if it does, this playstyle, this description here that Emily Rogers posted, that she apparently has these inside sources to, does this sound interesting? What's the deal with this whole 8 playable characters co-op multiplayer sci-fi laser gun arm cannon thing? What's going on with that whole thing? I don't love the idea of it. Just now talking from my own personal perspective and just what I would like out of games and Nintendo games, and even I love the Rayman games and I enjoy Ubisoft as a company more often than not. So it's not like I'm slamming Rayman or the Rabbids or Ubisoft or anything there. But when I think about taking these two franchises and putting them together, the description of this gameplay is not interesting to me. It's not exciting. It's not entirely believable either. The big thing that I think a lot of people have pointed out to, and I first gravitated towards this as well when I first read and saw this a couple of days ago, was the whole sci-fi weapons and the laser guns and the arm cannons and that whole thing. And some people are like, that's so un-Nintendo, I don't know why they would do that, that just doesn't seem like something they would do to Mario. And then some people's defense is, well, it happens in Smash Brothers, so obviously it's totally possible in any other setting. And I think that there is an argument there with the Smash Brothers thing, but to me, it still doesn't hold enough weight. When I think about Nintendo taking a Rayman game and a Mario game and crossing them together, and then putting, like, sci-fi weapons in Mario characters' hands, it just seems odd. It just doesn't seem like a Nintendo decision. It just feels very un-Nintendo. Even with Smash Brothers, like, okay, Smash Brothers, you know, a Star Fox laser gun is going to fall on the ground, and yes, any character, even a Mario character, can pick it up. That's true, and that does leave a small door or window open for this to be true. So anyone who defends that, who wants to be like, oh, you're crazy, it could totally happen, like, okay, yes, it happens in Smash Brothers. But I see Nintendo's decision in the Smash Brothers realm to be so very different than what they might consider doing here, that's why it just doesn't feel super right to me. And it was the first clue to me that, like, I don't know that I believe this, because I just don't see Mario doing that in a third-party game sort of setting. But if it is real, which, like I said, there is a window open for it to be real, so I'm willing to accept the possibility that Nintendo does some weird shit like this that allows it to happen, that's what makes it not interesting to me. Like, I don't necessarily, if I'm going to play a game that's Mario characters, I don't really want them doing this. I don't want them having arm cannons and laser guns, and I don't want them fighting Rabbids characters, and I don't want to be controlling them with this weird floating dish. Let's talk about the floating-ass dish for a minute, because that thing just doesn't sound interesting or exciting to me at all. It's the whole thing, to be fair, has kind of more of a Japanese gameplay style, kind of fundamental slapped onto it, just like the crossover thing is a Japanese sort of video game approach. So is this whole Totoro floating dish weird controlling other characters thing. So the whole thing is feeling very much more Nintendo influenced than Rayman or Ubisoft influenced. And that does kind of make it seem believable, I guess, to a degree. But this floating dish thing, I don't really understand this. You control Totoro, a small floating dish, to guide them through the worlds, because you don't control the characters. Like, what the hell? Why would these two companies come together to put characters like Mario characters and the Rabbids characters together in a Rayman Mario world and then not have you actually control them? Try to make this some sort of weird RTS simulation sort of strategy game? Like, I mean, yes, there's an element in like the Super Mario RPG and in the Mario and Luigi games where you're not like controlling your characters specifically in battle. It's like turn-based RPG stuff, and so okay, there's that precedence. But the way this is being described to me right now doesn't feel like that. This to me is telling me you play Mario characters, but you don't control them. So that feels so un-Mario. It just doesn't sit right with me. I can only say that phrase over and over again. It just feels very strange to imagine, you know, Nintendo giving us Mario characters that you're not running and jumping and moving back and forth and doing whatever, especially if you have laser guns. Like, why wouldn't you at least be able to move back and forth and then shoot your laser gun? This floating dish thing is so wacky and out there and unfun sounding. To be fair, that's the other thing, is it doesn't sound fun at all. It's hard for me to believe that that's how this game would play if, in fact, this game was real. But let me wrap this up, and I know I've probably ruffled some feathers, because some people are going to be like, oh, well, you know, they've done this in Smash Brothers, and, like, Nintendo and Ubisoft are really good partners, and so this has to be true. It's got to be just this way. And I know some people will probably feel that way, and that's fine. Like I said, all of this could be true. I'm not sitting here telling you it's 100% not true. I'm just telling you why it's hard for me to believe it, and why it doesn't really sound interesting or fun to me, really, at all, based on this description. Does not sound like a fun video game, especially a Mario game. But, to be fair, in wrapping this up, this whole description, this title, and this concept is so out there, and Nintendo specifically can be so unpredictable, that that's the #1 reason why, as much as I still hesitate to fully believe this or fully want this, it could be 100% true solely for that reason alone, if it really comes down to it. Sometimes something is so out there and so wacky and so far from the norm and far from acceptability that that's exactly the reason it's actually true. And it's like, if somebody was going to create this fake rumor like people love to do to try to get people excited and trick people, I feel like they wouldn't necessarily go this far. It probably didn't have to go any farther than Mario and Rabbids in just a platforming adventure game, and that could have been the fake rumor that someone creates. But once they take it as far as co-op multiplayer, you know, sci-fi weapons, a floating dish strategy control style, that's so insane that maybe that means it's actually real. And it'll be really interesting to see. So at the end of the day, like I said, I don't put most of my stock or faith in this being real. And if it's real, I don't really like the idea of it. But all of these things really just could be this crazy surprise that Nintendo and Ubisoft have in store for us. I feel like E3 is going to be that much more interesting, because obviously you'd have to think that would be the time that this game would be officially announced, revealed, and shown. The rumors have been going for months and months. They're resurfacing right now before E3, so does that mean it's destined to be announced at E3? I feel like if it's real, it's going to show up at E3. If it doesn't show up at E3, I'm going to be like 90% sure that my initial gut instinct was true and that this game is just simply not real, and it's a weird internet rumor in a world where people create fake 3D printed controllers to try to trick people into thinking they have a Nintendo NX. Like, that's the world with rumors we live in, guys. So while this might be real, don't forget what people are capable of and willing to do because they think stuff like that is really interesting, I guess. Anywho, that's what's going on today. Really curious to see what happens here. You know, I don't think this game looks or sounds interesting, but if it was real, for all we know, it just looks really great. And maybe I would be super surprised once I actually see this game revealed with this playstyle, and it actually would look fun. Who even knows, man? But I'm done talking about this and predicting it for now, because I'm going to get myself in trouble if this game actually turns out to be real. So, yeah, tell me what you think about this idea. It's been a rumor for a while. I've never discussed it until today. What do you think about the recent posts from Emily Rogers and people discussing this thing like it's basically fact? Do you believe this? Do you not believe this? Do you think this sounds really great and interesting, or do you think it sounds kind of weird and confusing and maybe unfun, which is a little bit more the side that I'm skewing to? Tell me what you think about Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle below. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you guys next time on another video.